The morning sun cast long shadows across the military recruitment center as Maya Chen stood in line with dozens of other hopeful candidates. At 22, she was smaller than most of the men around her, her 5'4" frame often overlooked in crowds. But her dark eyes held a determination that had carried her through years of struggle and hardship. Maya had grown up in a small town where opportunities were scarce, especially for someone like her. Her father had died when she was 12, leaving her mother to raise 3 children alone on a factory worker's salary. Maya had worked part-time jobs throughout high school, saving every penny for college, but, even with scholarships, the money had run out after 2 years. Now, standing in this line, she saw the military as her path forward. Not just for the education benefits or stable career, but because something deep inside her had always felt called to serve something bigger than herself. She had studied military history in her spare time, read books about famous battles and strategic operations, and dreamed of making a real difference in the world. The recruitment officer, Sergeant Williams, was a barrel-chested man in his 40s with graying hair and tired eyes. He had been processing applications all morning, and his patience was wearing thin. When Maya stepped up to his desk, he barely looked up from his paperwork. "Name?" he asked, his pen poised over the form. "Maya Chen," she replied clearly. "Age?" 22. "Education level?" 2 years of college, studying international relations and military history. At this, Sergeant Williams finally looked up, a slight smirk playing at the corners of his mouth. "Military history, huh? Let me guess, you want to be an intelligence analyst or maybe work in communications?" Maya took a deep breath. She had practiced this moment countless times in her mind. "Actually, Sergeant, I want to be a sniper." The silence that followed was deafening. Sergeant Williams stared at her for a long moment, then let out a short laugh. Several other candidates in nearby lines turned to look, and Maya felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment. "A sniper?" Sergeant Williams repeated, loud enough for others to hear. "Little lady, do you have any idea what that job entails? We're talking about precision shooting at distances of over 1,000 yards, carrying equipment that weighs more than you probably do, and operating in some of the most dangerous conditions imaginable." Maya stood her ground, her voice steady despite the tremor she felt inside. "Yes, Sergeant, I understand the requirements. I've been shooting since I was 14. My uncle taught me on his farm, and I've won several local competitions. I know it's not the same as military operations, but I have the skills to build on." Another laugh, this one more dismissive. "Local competitions? That's like saying you can drive in NASCAR because you've never gotten a speeding ticket." He leaned back in his chair, his amusement growing. "Look, Miss Chen, I appreciate your enthusiasm, but snipers are elite soldiers. They're the best of the best. It takes years of training, physical strength that frankly, I don't think you possess, and mental toughness that most people never develop." Maya felt the stares of everyone around her. Some were curious, others openly amused. A few young men in line behind her were whispering and chuckling among themselves. She heard one of them mutter, "What's next? She wants to be a Navy SEAL." "I understand it's challenging," Maya said, her voice growing stronger. "That's exactly why I want to do it. I'm not looking for an easy path, Sergeant. I'm looking for a chance to prove what I'm capable of." Sergeant Williams shook his head, still smiling. "Honey, I've been doing this job for 15 years. I've seen thousands of recruits come through here, and I can tell you right now, you don't have what it takes. The dropout rate for sniper school is over 90%, and that's for candidates who already have years of military experience and specialized training." He pulled out a different form, sliding it across the desk toward her. "Now, how about we talk about something more realistic? We have excellent programs for logistics, administration, medical support, intelligence analysis. All important jobs, all ways to serve your country without getting yourself killed." Maya looked down at the form, then back up at Sergeant Williams. "What if I prove you wrong?" "Excuse me? What if I prove you wrong about what I can do?" Sergeant Williams leaned forward, his expression shifting from amused to slightly annoyed. "Miss Chen, this isn't a game. This isn't about proving anyone wrong. This is about reality. Snipers don't just shoot targets at a range. They crawl through mud for hours, they go days without proper food or sleep, they make split-second decisions that can save or cost lives. They carry weapons and equipment that weigh 60 pounds or more across terrain that would challenge a mountain climber. I understand all of that, Maya insisted. And I'm still asking for the chance to try. By now, their conversation had drawn the attention of most of the recruitment center. Other sergeants had stopped their interviews to listen, and the candidates in line were openly staring. Maya felt like she was on display, but she refused to back down. You know what? Sergeant Williams said, his voice rising slightly. Let me paint you a picture of what sniper training is really like. Day 1, you're carrying a 40-pound pack on a 20-mile hike. Day 2, you're lying motionless in a swamp for 16 hours with bugs crawling all over you, waiting for a shot that might never come. Day 3, you're taking apart and reassembling a rifle in complete darkness while instructors scream at you. He stood up, walking around the desk to face her directly. And that's just the beginning. That's before you learn advanced ballistics, wind reading, target identification, and all the other skills that separate real snipers from weekend hunters. Most of the men who attempt sniper training wash out, and they come in with years of infantry experience. Maya met his gaze steadily. Then, I'll be one of the few who don't wash out. Sergeant Williams laughed again, but this time there was no humor in it. Confidence is good, Miss Chen, but overconfidence will get you killed. And, more importantly, it could get the soldiers depending on you killed too. I'm not being overconfident, Maya replied. I'm being determined. There's a difference. At that moment, another voice cut through the conversation. What seems to be the problem here, Sergeant Williams? Everyone turned to see a tall, distinguished-looking officer in dress uniform approaching. His bearing immediately commanded respect, and Maya noticed the silver stars on his shoulders that marked him as a general. Sergeant Williams quickly straightened to attention. General Morrison, sir. No problem, just explaining to this young lady why certain career paths might not be suitable for her. General Morrison was a man in his late 50s, with silver hair and sharp blue eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. He had the kind of presence that made people pay attention without him having to raise his voice. As he approached, Maya noticed something else about him, a small pin on his uniform that she didn't recognize, but something about it seemed significant. And what career path is that, Sergeant? The general asked, his voice calm but carrying an undertone of authority that made everyone in the area stand a little straighter. She wants to be a sniper, sir, Sergeant Williams replied, barely concealing his amusement. I was explaining the physical and mental requirements of the position. General Morrison turned his attention to Maya, studying her with an intensity that made her feel like he was looking right through her. And what makes you think you're qualified for sniper training, Miss Chen, sir? Maya Chen. She straightened her shoulders, meeting his gaze directly. I've been shooting since I was 14, I have experience with long-range precision shooting, and I'm willing to work harder than anyone else to earn my place. Shooting experience, the general repeated thoughtfully. What kind of shooting? Hunting, competitive target shooting, some long-range work with my uncle who was former military, Maya answered honestly. And your longest confirmed shot? Maya hesitated for a moment, knowing how this would sound. 830 yards, sir. White-tailed deer, single shot, clean kill. A murmur went through the crowd of onlookers. Even Sergeant Williams looked slightly impressed despite himself. 800 yards was a considerable distance for a civilian shooter, especially one without formal military training. General Morrison nodded slowly. Impressive. And what rifle? Remington 700, sir. 308 Winchester. It was my uncle's service rifle that he modified for hunting. Wind conditions? 12 to 15 mile/hour crosswind from the left, sir. Had to adjust for approximately 4 inches of drift. The general's eyebrows raised slightly. These were not the answers of someone who had just gotten lucky with a long shot. This was someone who understood ballistics and had experience reading environmental conditions. Tell me about your uncle, General Morrison said. Maya felt a familiar pang of sadness as she thought about Uncle Robert. Staff Sergeant Robert Chen, sir. He served 2 tours in Afghanistan as a designated marksman. He taught me that shooting isn't just about pulling a trigger. It's about patience, discipline, understanding your environment, and respecting your equipment. Wise man. Is he still active duty? No, sir. He was killed in a car accident 3 years ago. The general's expression softened slightly. I'm sorry for your loss, Miss Chen. Thank you, sir. General Morrison turned to Sergeant Williams. Sergeant, what exactly did you tell Miss Chen about sniper training? Sergeant Williams shifted uncomfortably. I explained the physical demands, sir. The high dropout rate, the specialized skills required. I was trying to set realistic expectations. I see. And, in your explanation, did you happen to mention that some of our most successful snipers have been smaller individuals who could move more quietly, fit into tighter concealment positions, and had the patience to wait for the perfect shot rather than relying purely on physical strength? Well, sir, Or did you mention that marksmanship skills, mental discipline, and tactical intelligence are often more important than the ability to carry heavy equipment for long distances? Maya watched this exchange with growing hope. The general was challenging Sergeant Williams's assumptions, and she could see the sergeant beginning to realize he might have made an error in judgment. Sir, I was just trying to be realistic about the challenges. General Morrison held up a hand, stopping the sergeant mid-sentence. Realism is important, Sergeant. But, so is recognizing potential when it stands in front of you. He turned back to Maya. Miss Chen, sniper training is indeed one of the most challenging programs the military offers. The physical demands are real, the mental pressure is intense, and the failure rate is high. But, it's not impossible, especially for someone with the right combination of skills and determination. Maya felt her heart racing. Yes, sir, I understand. However, the general continued, I'm not going to send you directly to sniper school. That would be setting you up for failure. If you're serious about this path, you'll need to prove yourself first. You'll start with basic training, then advanced infantry training, then we'll see how you perform under real military conditions. I understand, sir. I'm ready for whatever it takes. General Morrison studied her for a long moment, then did something unexpected. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, circular challenge coin. It was dark metal with an intricate design that Maya couldn't quite make out from where she stood. Sergeant Williams, the general said, I want you to make a note in Miss Chen's file. She's to be given every opportunity to prove herself. And, I want to be personally notified of her progress. He handed the coin to Maya, and, as she took it, she saw the design clearly for the first time. It was a stylized bird of prey in flight, with the words Black Talon inscribed around the edge. What's this, sir? Maya asked. General Morrison smiled slightly. Let's just say it's a reminder that exceptional performance deserves exceptional opportunities. As Maya looked at the coin, she noticed something else. Sergeant Williams had gone completely silent, his face pale as he stared at the small piece of metal in her hands. Other officers in the recruitment center had noticed the exchange as well, and she could see them whispering among themselves with expressions of surprise and respect. Sergeant, General Morrison said, his voice carrying a note of finality, please continue processing Miss Chen's application for infantry with a marksmanship specialty notation. Yes, sir. Right away, sir. As Maya filled out the remaining paperwork, she couldn't shake the feeling that something significant had just happened. The coin felt warm in her palm, and she noticed that people were looking at her differently now. Not with amusement or dismissal, but with a kind of cautious respect she didn't understand. When she finished the paperwork, Sergeant Williams handed her a folder containing her reporting instructions and basic training information. His entire demeanor had changed from dismissive to professional, almost deferential. You'll report to Fort Benning in 6 weeks for basic training, he said. Make sure you're in the best physical condition possible before you arrive. And, Miss Chen? Yes, Sergeant? Good luck. I have a feeling you're going to need it. As Maya left the recruitment center, she clutched the challenge coin in her pocket and wondered what she had gotten herself into. She had come here asking for a chance to prove herself, and, somehow, she felt like she had been given much more than that. The weight of expectations settled on her shoulders like a mantle, but, instead of feeling crushed by it, she felt energized. Whatever this Black Talon thing was, whatever General Morrison had seen in her, she was determined not to let anyone down. Especially not herself. The drive home seemed longer than usual as Maya processed everything that had happened. The looks on people's faces when they saw the coin, the way Sergeant Williams had completely changed his attitude, the intensity in General Morrison's eyes when he handed it to her, it all pointed to something significant that she didn't fully understand yet. But, she would understand it soon enough. And, when she did, she would be ready for whatever came next. 6 weeks later, Maya stood in formation with 49 other recruits at Fort Benning, Georgia. The humid Georgia air pressed down like a wet blanket, and sweat was already beading on her forehead despite the early morning hour. Drill Sergeant Martinez paced in front of them like a predator sizing up prey, his voice cutting through the morning silence like a blade. "Listen up, maggots. For the next 16 weeks, I own you. I will break you down to nothing and build you back up into something that might, if you're lucky, resemble a soldier. Most of you will not make it through this program. Some of you will quit in the first week. Others will wash out when the real training starts. And a few of you will discover that you never had what it takes in the first place." Maya kept her eyes forward, her posture rigid. She had spent the past 6 weeks preparing for this moment. Every morning before dawn, she had run 5 miles. Every afternoon, she had done strength training focusing on functional movements rather than just building muscle. Every evening, she had studied military protocol, weapons systems, and tactical procedures. But nothing could have prepared her for the intensity of actually being here. "Shun." Drill Sergeant Martinez's voice snapped her attention back to the present. "Yes, Drill Sergeant. I hear you have some interesting ideas about your future in this man's army." Maya's stomach dropped. Word had somehow gotten around about her conversation at the recruitment center. She could feel the eyes of the other recruits on her, and she knew this was not going to end well. "I'm here to serve in whatever capacity I'm needed, Drill Sergeant." "That's not what I asked, Chin. I asked about your ideas." "Word is you think you're sniper material." A few snickers came from the other recruits. Maya kept her face expressionless, but, inside, her heart was pounding. "I believe in challenging myself, Drill Sergeant. I want to be the best soldier I can be." "The best soldier you can be," Martinez repeated, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Well, Chen, let me tell you what the best soldier you can be looks like. It looks like someone who can march 20 miles with full gear without falling out. It looks like someone who can field strip a rifle in the dark while under fire. It looks like someone who can carry a wounded comrade to safety while enemy rounds are snapping over their head." He stopped directly in front of Maya, close enough that she could smell the coffee on his breath. "It does not look like some little girl who thinks she can play army because she shot a deer once." The humiliation burned in Maya's chest, but she forced herself to remain calm. This was a test, she knew. Everything here would be a test. "Yes, Drill Sergeant. I understand." "Oh, you understand? Good. Then, you'll understand why you're going to be my special project for the next 16 weeks. Every time someone else gets a break, you'll be doing extra PT. Every time someone else gets to rest, you'll be cleaning weapons or polishing boots. And, at the end of this training, when you're begging me to let you quit and go home to mommy, you'll understand what real soldiering is about." The next 8 weeks were the hardest of Maya's life. True to his word, Drill Sergeant Martinez made her life miserable. When the other recruits were given 15 minutes to eat, she had 10. When they got 6 hours of sleep, she got 5. When they finished a training exercise, she was assigned extra duties. But something unexpected happened as the weeks went by. Instead of breaking her down, the extra challenges began to forge her into something stronger. While other recruits complained about the difficulty of basic training, Maya had already adapted to an even higher standard. When they struggled with physical fitness tests, she exceeded requirements easily. When they fumbled with weapons maintenance under pressure, her hands moved with practiced precision. More importantly, she began to earn the respect of her fellow recruits. At first, they had viewed her with suspicion and amusement. The small girl who thought she could be a sniper was an easy target for jokes and casual cruelty. But, as they watched her endure punishment after punishment without complaining, as they saw her help struggling recruits with their gear and training despite her own exhaustion, their attitudes began to change. Private Rodriguez was the first to approach her. A stocky young man from Texas, he had been one of the loudest voices mocking her aspirations early in training. "Chen," he said one evening as they cleaned their rifles in the barracks, "I owe you an apology." Maya looked up from the bolt she was cleaning. "For what?" "For thinking you were some kind of joke. For thinking this was all a game to you." He gestured around the barracks. "Anyone can see that Martinez is riding you harder than any of us, and you never complain. You never give up. That takes real guts." We're all here to become soldiers, Maya replied simply. That means we all have to be tough enough to handle whatever they throw at us. Yeah, but you're handling more than the rest of us, and you're still helping people out when they need it. Like when Peterson was struggling with his marksmanship scores, you spent your free time teaching him breathing techniques. Or when Williams twisted his ankle on that ruck march, you carried part of his gear even though Martinez would have smoked you if he caught you. Maya shrugged. That's what soldiers do for each other. Rodriguez nodded slowly. Maybe that's why you actually might make it as a sniper. It's not just about shooting straight, is it? It's about being someone other people can count on. Word of that conversation spread through the platoon, and Maya found herself being included in discussions and activities that had previously excluded her. The other recruits began coming to her for advice on marksmanship, and even some of the bigger, stronger soldiers asked for her help with precision tasks that required steady hands and patience. The turning point came during week 12 of training. The platoon was conducting a night infiltration exercise, crawling through a wooded area to reach an objective without being detected by instructors playing the role of enemy sentries. It was exactly the kind of training that would be crucial for a sniper, moving silently, remaining concealed, and getting close enough to a target without being noticed. Maya found herself paired with Henderson, a tall, athletic recruit from California who had initially been one of her harshest critics. As they low-crawled through the underbrush, Henderson kept making noise, snapping twigs, rustling leaves, breathing too heavily. Henderson, Maya whispered, you need to control your breathing and watch where you place your hands. I can't see anything in this darkness, he hissed back. How are you moving so quietly? Feel with your hands before you move them, Maya instructed. Your body should flow like water, not crash like a bull. And breathe through your nose, not your mouth. For the next hour, Maya guided Henderson through the exercise, teaching him techniques her uncle had shown her years ago. How to test the ground before putting weight on it, how to move in rhythm with natural sounds like wind in the trees, how to use shadows and terrain to mask movement. When they reached the objective, Henderson was amazed. Chen, that was incredible. I felt like I was invisible out there. You were learning, Maya replied. This is what I've been training for my whole life, even if I didn't know it at the time. The exercise was graded by how close each team could get to the objective without being detected. Most teams were spotted at distances of 50 to 100 yards from their target. Maya and Henderson made it to within 15 yards before being discovered, the best performance of any team in the company. After the exercise, Drill Sergeant Martinez pulled Maya aside. Chen, that was impressive work out there. Thank you, Drill Sergeant. Martinez studied her for a long moment. I've been hard on you these past months. Yes, Drill Sergeant. You know why? Maya considered her answer carefully. To see if I would quit, Drill Sergeant. Partially. But also because if you really want to be a sniper, you need to be tougher than everyone else. Snipers operate alone or in very small teams. They don't have a whole platoon to rely on when things go wrong. They have to be self-sufficient, mentally tough, and absolutely reliable. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a piece of paper. This is a recommendation form for advanced marksmanship training. It's the first step toward specialized sniper training, but it's also a big risk for both of us. If you wash out, it reflects poorly on my judgment. If you succeed, it opens doors that very few soldiers ever get to walk through. Maya took the paper, her hands steady despite the excitement racing through her system. I won't let you down, Drill Sergeant. See that you don't. Because Chen, I'm going to tell you something that stays between us. That coin you're carrying, the one from General Morrison? I've only seen 3 of those in my entire 20-year career. The people who carry them are being watched by some very important people. They have expectations for you that go way beyond normal military service. Maya felt the weight of the challenge coin in her pocket, where she had carried it every day since leaving the recruitment center. What kind of expectations, Drill Sergeant? The kind that can make or break careers. The kind that lead to assignments most soldiers never even hear about. The kind that require you to be better than everyone around you, not just good enough. As Maya walked back to the barracks that night, she thought about how much had changed since that day at the recruitment center. She was no longer the uncertain young woman hoping for a chance to prove herself. The crucible of basic training had forged her into something harder, sharper, more focused. But she also understood now that this was just the beginning. Advanced marksmanship training would be even more challenging, and, beyond that lay the real test, sniper school itself. The dropout rate Sergeant Williams had mentioned still haunted her thoughts. 90% failure rate, even for soldiers with years of experience. But, as she lay in her bunk that night, listening to the quiet breathing of her fellow recruits, Maya felt a calm certainty settle over her. She had survived 16 weeks of the most demanding training she had ever experienced. She had earned the respect of her peers and her instructors. She had proven to herself that she had the mental toughness to endure whatever challenges lay ahead. More importantly, she had discovered something about herself that she hadn't fully understood before. She wasn't just good at shooting, or moving quietly, or enduring hardship. She was good at being the kind of soldier other people could depend on. She was good at staying calm under pressure, at solving problems, at finding ways to complete missions even when everything went wrong. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Advanced training would push her even further. But tonight, for the first time since arriving at Fort Benning, Maya Chen allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, she actually could become the sniper she had dreamed of being. The challenge coin felt warm against her chest where she wore it on a chain under her uniform. Whatever General Morrison had seen in her that day, whatever the black Talon symbol represented, she was one step closer to understanding it. And, one step closer to proving that those who had mocked her for asking for a rifle had severely underestimated what she was capable of. 3 months into advanced marksmanship training at Fort Benning, Maya found herself lying prone on a firing range at dawn, her eye pressed to the scope of a precision rifle. The target was a steel silhouette 800 yards away, barely visible in the morning mist. Around her, 12 other soldiers were attempting the same shot, but Maya had already learned that distance was only part of the challenge. Instructor Sergeant First Class Davis knelt beside her, his voice low and steady. Winds picking up from the southeast at about 8 miles per hour. Humidity is high from the overnight rain. Temperature is rising as the sun comes up. What's your compensation? Maya studied the conditions carefully, watching the grass movement near the target, feeling the slight breeze on her face, calculating the ballistic adjustments in her head. 2 clicks left for wind, 1 click down for the warming air reducing bullet drop, Sergeant. Show me. Maya made the adjustments to her scope with practiced precision, controlled her breathing, and slowly squeezed the trigger. The rifle recoiled smoothly against her shoulder, and, a second later, the metallic ping of a hit echoed across the range. Center mass, Sergeant Davis confirmed through his binoculars. Outstanding work, Chen. That's 15 consecutive hits at 800 yards under varying conditions. Maya felt a surge of pride but kept her expression neutral. Over the past months, she had learned that consistency was more important than any single exceptional shot. Day after day, she had practiced not just marksmanship, but all the supporting skills that made a precision shooter effective: range estimation, wind reading, target identification, stalking, and camouflage. Chen, report to the orderly room after training today, Sergeant Davis said as she began cleaning her rifle. You have some visitors. Maya's stomach tightened with nervous anticipation. Visitors during advanced training were unusual and rarely casual. As she completed the day's exercises and cleaned her equipment, she wondered who could be waiting for her and what it might mean for her future. When she reported to the orderly room that afternoon, still in her training uniform with dirt and camouflage paint streaking her face, she was surprised to find 2 men in civilian clothes waiting for her. One was tall and lean with prematurely gray hair and sharp, intelligent eyes. The other was shorter and broader, with the kind of weathered face that spoke of years spent outdoors in harsh conditions. Private Chen, said the company clerk, these gentlemen are here to speak with you about potential assignment opportunities. The taller man stepped forward, extending his hand. Private Chen, I'm Mr. Johnson, and this is Mr. Williams. We're here to discuss your performance in training and some possibilities for your future career. Maya shook both men's hands, immediately noticing the firm, controlled grips that suggested military backgrounds despite their civilian appearance. Yes, sir. How can I help you? Actually, we're here to help you, Mr. Williams said with a slight smile. We've been reviewing your training records, and we're quite impressed with what we've seen. Not just your marksmanship scores, which are exceptional, but your overall performance ratings, leadership evaluations, and psychological assessments. Mr. Johnson nodded. We understand you've expressed interest in sniper training. That's a challenging path, as I'm sure you know. But there are opportunities beyond traditional military sniper roles that might interest someone with your particular combination of skills. Maya felt her pulse quicken. What kind of opportunities, sir? Before we get into that, we need to discuss something important, Mr. Williams said, his tone becoming more serious. We understand you have a challenge coin from General Morrison. May we see it? Maya hesitated for a moment, then reached into her pocket and pulled out the black Talon coin. As soon as the two men saw it, their entire demeanor changed. Mr. Johnson straightened almost imperceptibly, and Mr. Williams nodded with what looked like approval. Private Chen, Mr. Johnson said quietly, that coin represents an invitation to join something very special. General Morrison doesn't give those out lightly. In fact, there are fewer than 50 people in the world who carry one. What does it mean? Maya asked, studying the faces of the two men for clues. It means, Mr. Williams explained, that you've been identified as someone with the potential to join an elite unit that handles operations other soldiers never hear about. Missions that require not just exceptional shooting skills, but intelligence, adaptability, and absolute discretion. Mr. Johnson leaned forward slightly. The Black Talon program is a joint special operations initiative that recruits individuals with unique combinations of skills. Snipers, yes, but also linguists, intelligence analysts, infiltration specialists, and mission planners. What they all have in common is that they represent the absolute best at what they do. Maya felt her heart racing. This was beyond anything she had imagined when she first asked about sniper training. What would this involve? First, completing your current training with the highest possible marks, Mr. Williams said. Then, if you're interested, a selection process that makes normal special operations training look easy. We're talking about months of evaluation, testing physical capabilities you didn't know you had, mental challenges that push you beyond your limits, and skill development that will transform you into someone capable of operating anywhere in the world under any conditions. The dropout rate, Mr. Johnson added with a slight smile, is about 95%. Maya almost laughed. Everyone keeps telling me about high dropout rates, sir. But I'm still here. Yes, you are. And that's exactly why we're having this conversation. Mr. Williams pulled out a thin file folder. Private Chen, we've done extensive background research on you. We know about your uncle's military service, your shooting competitions, your academic performance, even your part-time jobs in high school. What impressed us most wasn't your skills, impressive as they are. It was your character. He opened the folder and read from what appeared to be an evaluation report. Works well under pressure, demonstrates exceptional persistence, shows genuine concern for team members, displays strong ethical framework, exhibits natural leadership qualities despite junior rank. He looked up at Maya. These aren't just nice qualities to have. For the kind of work we do, they're absolutely essential. What kind of work? Maya asked directly. The two men exchanged glances. Mr. Johnson spoke carefully. Operations that protect American interests and American lives in ways that never make the news. Sometimes that involves precision shooting at extreme distances. Sometimes it involves intelligence gathering in hostile territory. Sometimes it involves training allied forces or conducting direct action missions against high-value targets. We can't give you more details unless you agree to proceed with the selection process, Mr. Williams added. But I will tell you this, the people we work with are the best at what they do, and they operate with a level of independence and responsibility that most soldiers never experience. Maya looked down at the challenge coin in her palm. Such a small thing to have changed her life so dramatically. If I say yes, what happens next? You complete your current training here, which we expect you to finish in the top 5% of your class, Mr. Johnson said. Then, you report to a location we'll provide for initial assessment. That takes about 6 weeks. If you pass that, you move on to the full selection program, which takes another 4 months. And if I don't pass? You return to regular military service with no negative marks on your record, Mr. Williams assured her. In fact, the training you receive during selection will make you a better soldier regardless of the outcome. Maya thought about the long journey that had brought her to this moment. The mocking laughter at the recruitment center, the grueling weeks of basic training, the gradual earning of respect from her peers and instructors. Every challenge had led her to this opportunity. There's one more thing, Mr. Johnson said. The people in this program become family. Not just colleagues or teammates, but family. You watch each other's backs, you trust each other with your lives, and you know that no matter what happens, someone will always come for you. He gestured toward the challenge coin. That coin connects you to a network of people who understand what it means to serve at the highest level. General Morrison carried one during his service. So did several other general officers, senior NCOs, and specialists whose names you'll never know but whose actions have shaped world events. Maya closed her fingers around the coin. When do I give you my answer? Take tonight to think about it, Mr. Williams said. This is a decision that will change your life completely. There's no shame in deciding it's not for you. But, if you do decide to proceed, understand that there's no going back. Once you start this path, you're committed to seeing it through, wherever it leads. As the two men prepared to leave, Mr. Johnson turned back to her. Private Chen, I want you to know something. We've been watching your progress for months, not just here but since basic training. Every instructor you've worked with has given you the highest possible recommendations. But, more than that, your fellow soldiers speak about you with genuine respect and admiration. He paused at the door. That's rare. Skills can be taught, but character is something you either have or you don't. You have it. That evening, Maya sat alone in her barracks room, holding the challenge coin and thinking about everything that had happened. Her roommate was attending a movie night in the common area, leaving her with precious solitude to consider the most important decision of her life. She thought about her uncle Robert, who had taught her that shooting was about more than hitting targets. He had shown her that it was about discipline, patience, and responsibility for every shot fired. She wondered what he would think about this opportunity, whether he would be proud or worried about the dangerous path she was considering. She thought about her mother, working double shifts to support the family while Maya pursued her military dreams. Her mother had never questioned Maya's decision to join the army, had never expressed doubts about her daughter's unconventional ambitions. She deserved to know that her faith had been justified. Most of all, Maya thought about the woman she had been 6 months ago, standing in that recruitment line and asking for a chance to prove herself. That woman had known she was capable of more than others believed, but she could never have imagined sitting in a military barracks being recruited for operations she couldn't even fully understand. As she prepared for bed that night, Maya made her decision. She had come too far and sacrificed too much to turn back now. Whatever the Black Talon program involved, whatever challenges lay ahead, she was ready to face them. The coin felt warm in her palm as she drifted off to sleep, and her dreams were filled with possibilities she was only beginning to understand. 2 years later, Maya Chen crouched in a concealed position on a hillside overlooking a valley in a country whose name appeared on no official mission reports. Her ghillie suit blended perfectly with the surrounding vegetation, and she had been motionless for over 6 hours, waiting for her target to appear. The advanced rifle system in her hands was unlike anything she had trained with in regular military service, a precision instrument capable of accurate shots at distances exceeding 1,500 yards. Through her scope, she watched the compound below where intelligence indicated a high-value target would appear for a scheduled meeting. The target was responsible for coordinating attacks against American forces and Allied civilians, and his elimination would save countless innocent lives. This was her 13th mission as a Black Talon operative, and each one had tested different aspects of the skills she had developed through the most grueling training program she had ever imagined. Her earpiece crackled softly with the voice of her mission partner, Rodriguez, the same Rodriguez who had apologized to her during basic training and had somehow ended up following a parallel path to the Black Talon program through demolitions and urban warfare specialization. Overwatch, this is base. Target vehicle approaching from the east. ETA 3 minutes. Copy, base, Maya whispered into her throat microphone. Target area is clear. Wind conditions stable. Ready to engage on your mark. The selection process for Black Talon had been everything Mr. Johnson and Mr. Williams had promised and more. Of the 47 candidates who had started the program with her, only 3 had completed the full training cycle. The others had been eliminated not for lack of skill or courage, but because the program demanded a level of perfection that few human beings could achieve. Maya had learned to speak 3 languages fluently, to operate in environments ranging from Arctic tundra to tropical jungle, to gather intelligence while maintaining deep cover identities, and to make split-second decisions that could affect international relations. But, most importantly, she had learned to trust her teammates with her life and to be worthy of that same trust in return. Through her scope, she watched as a black sedan pulled into the compound courtyard. Her breathing slowed automatically, her heart rate dropping as her body entered the almost meditative state that preceded a precision shot. Years of training had made this transformation automatic, a shift from normal consciousness to the heightened awareness of a predator about to strike. Base, I have eyes on target vehicle. Subjects exiting vehicle now. Copy, Overwatch. Confirm target identification before engagement. Maya studied the figures emerging from the sedan through her high magnification scope. The intelligence briefing had been thorough, including detailed photographs and behavioral analysis. The man she was looking for would be wearing a distinctive gray suit and would carry a silver briefcase containing encrypted communication equipment. Target confirmed, she reported quietly. Gray suit, silver briefcase, matching all identifying characteristics. You have authorization to engage when ready, Overwatch. Maya made final adjustments to her scope, accounting for the slight wind shift she had detected from grass movement in the valley. The target was approximately 1,200 yards away, well within her capability but requiring precise calculation. She had made similar shots hundreds of times in training, but each operational shot carried weight that no training exercise could replicate. Engaging, she whispered. Her fingers squeezed the trigger with the same smooth control she had learned on her uncle's farm years ago. The rifle recoiled against her shoulder, and she watched through the scope as her target dropped cleanly. Mission accomplished with a single shot, no collateral damage, no indication that the elimination had come from an American operative. Target down, she reported. Clean hit, no complications. Outstanding work, Overwatch. Begin exfiltration immediately. Maya was already moving, breaking down her weapon system and preparing to leave the area. Within minutes, she would be invisible again, making her way to an extraction point where she would become just another tourist leaving a foreign country after a brief visit. As she moved through the terrain with the silent efficiency that had become second nature, Maya reflected on the journey that had brought her to this moment. The mocking laughter at the recruitment center seemed like a memory from another lifetime, experienced by a different person. The woman she had become bore little resemblance to the uncertain young woman who had asked for a chance to prove herself. 6 months later, Maya stood in General Morrison's office at the Pentagon, wearing dress blues with decorations that told a story of exceptional service without revealing the true nature of her assignments. The general had aged slightly since their first meeting, but his eyes held the same sharp intelligence that had seen potential in her when no one else could. Staff Sergeant Chen, he said, using her newly promoted rank, your performance over the past 2 years has been exceptional. Your mission success rate is perfect, your team evaluations are outstanding, and your development as an operative has exceeded our most optimistic projections. Thank you, sir. I've had excellent training and support. General Morrison smiled slightly. Yes, you have. But training and support can only take someone so far. What you've accomplished required something that can't be taught, the ability to perform under pressure while maintaining your moral compass and your concern for others. He walked to a wall display case containing various military artifacts and memorabilia. Do you know what separates good soldiers from great ones, Staff Sergeant? No, sir. Good soldiers follow orders and complete missions. Great soldiers understand why the missions matter and take responsibility for outcomes that go beyond their immediate objectives. He turned to face her. You've consistently demonstrated that you understand the larger picture, that you see each mission as part of a greater effort to protect people who will never know your name or understand what you've sacrificed for their safety. Maya thought about the operations she had conducted, the lives saved through the elimination of threats, the intelligence gathered that had prevented attacks on civilian targets. I believe in the work we do, sir. That's obvious. And it's why I asked you here today. General Morrison returned to his desk and picked up a folder marked with classifications Maya had learned to recognize. Black Talon is evolving. We're expanding our operational scope and creating new roles for our most capable operatives. He handed her the folder. This contains details about a new position, Black Talon 6. It's a leadership role that would put you in charge of training and developing the next generation of operatives. You would also serve as operational commander for multi-team missions requiring coordination across different specialties. Maya opened the folder and began reading. The responsibilities were staggering. She would essentially become one of the senior leaders of the entire Black Talon program, responsible for both operations and personnel development. Sir, I'm honored by your confidence, but I'm not sure I'm qualified for this level of responsibility. General Morrison laughed quietly. Staff Sergeant, do you remember what Sergeant Williams told you at the recruitment center about the requirements for sniper training? Yes, sir. Physical strength, mental toughness, specialized skills. And what did I tell you that day? Maya thought back to that pivotal conversation. That marksmanship skills, mental discipline, and tactical intelligence were often more important than physical strength. Exactly. And what you've proven over the past 2 years is that leadership works the same way. It's not about having all the answers or being the strongest person in the room. It's about making good decisions under pressure, caring about the people you work with, and maintaining your principles when everything is falling apart. He gestured toward the challenge coin Maya still wore on a chain around her neck. That coin connects you to a legacy of people who served at the highest levels while staying true to their values. Now I'm asking you to help carry that legacy forward. Maya looked at the folder again, considering the magnitude of what was being offered. What about operational assignments? Would I still be in the field? When needed, yes. But your primary responsibility would be ensuring that Black Talon continues to attract and develop people like yourself, individuals who combine exceptional skills with exceptional character. As Maya walked out of the Pentagon that afternoon, wearing the subdued insignia of her new rank and carrying authorization for her new position, she thought about all the people who had helped her reach this point. Drill Sergeant Martinez, who had pushed her to discover her own strength. Sergeant First Class Davis, who had taught her that precision was as much about mindset as technique. Her fellow operators who had become the family Mr. Johnson had promised. Most of all, she thought about her Uncle Robert, who had taught her that every shot carried responsibility and that a true marksman never forgot the weight of that responsibility. 3 months later, Maya stood in front of a new class of Black Talon candidates conducting their first briefing. Looking out at the faces before her, some confident, some uncertain, all eager to prove themselves, she saw reflections of her own journey. Welcome to Black Talon selection, she began, her voice carrying the authority earned through years of operational experience. Some of you are here because you're exceptional marksmen. Others because you're intelligence specialists, language experts, or technical operators. But all of you are here because someone saw potential in you that goes beyond your current skill set. She paused, making eye contact with each candidate. Over the next several months, we're going to push you harder than you've ever been pushed before. We're going to test not just your abilities, but your judgment, your integrity, and your commitment to something larger than yourself. One candidate, a young woman who reminded Maya of herself 2 years ago, raised her hand. Ma'am, what's the most important quality for success in this program? Maya smiled slightly, remembering asking similar questions during her own selection. The willingness to keep going when everyone else thinks you should quit. The ability to maintain your standards when it would be easier to compromise. And the understanding that your actions reflect on everyone who wears this uniform. She reached into her pocket and pulled out her challenge coin, holding it up where everyone could see it. This coin represents a promise that you will never stop striving to be better than you were yesterday, that you will never abandon a teammate, and that you will never forget that freedom isn't free. As the briefing continued, Maya thought about the long path that had brought her to this moment. From a small-town girl asking for a chance to prove herself, to a leader responsible for developing the next generation of America's most elite operatives. The journey had been harder than anything she could have imagined, but it had also been more rewarding than she had dared to hope. The mocking laughter at the recruitment center had long since faded into memory, replaced by the respective colleagues who knew what it meant to serve at the highest level. The rifle she had asked for that day had become the foundation for capabilities she was still discovering. And the general who had murmured Black Talon mark had opened a door to a world where exceptional people did extraordinary things to keep ordinary people safe. Standing in front of these new candidates, Maya Chun understood that her story was not ending but beginning a new chapter. The woman who had been mocked for her ambitions had become someone whose responsibility was to ensure that others with similar dreams would have the chance to pursue them. She had asked for a rifle and a chance to prove herself. What she had received was a calling that would define the rest of her life.